You send a DM to a potential client on Instagram, they read your message, and then nothing. They ghost you. So when do you follow up? How many times do you follow up? And what do you even say? If you're too eager, you start to look desperate, and if you wait too long, they completely forgot about you. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact system that I use to manage and follow up with hundreds of Instagram leads at a time without letting any of them slip through the cracks so that we can maximize the amount of money that we make from Instagram DMs. Now, here's what happens when you don't have a system. Let's say you send a message to somebody who's either a new follower or somebody who liked your story or any other source. They come into your Instagram inbox, and that is where you have a conversation. Now, in the middle of this conversation, most people at some point are going to drop off. They're going to stop replying to you. And if you have no system, you're going to either forget to follow up with them, and you're going to do it whenever it comes to mind, or you're going to do follow-ups in an incorrect way, which are going to make you seem needy, and they're going to lose the conversation and the lead forever. This obviously leads to lost revenue, so you're going to be leaving money on the table, and that's verifiable. If you don't follow up with people, the money is made in the follow-ups, and if you don't do that, you will lose money in the process. The solution to this is that you need to systemize your follow-ups. You need to go from having no system to having a system that facilitates your conversations and allows you to keep track of who you need to follow up with, as well as optimize the time frames in which you follow up so that you don't scare the leads away. Now, I'm going to get into the technical parts of how you can use a simple follow-up board to track all of this automatically and get advanced statistics on your follow-ups so that you can book in calls on autopilot and get the success that a lot of the people that follow this system already get, where they're closing clients on autopilot, booking in calls, making hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and getting results within just 3 days of actually implementing this. And the reality is, when you have a situation such as this on screen, where a client sent 31,000 outreach messages over the course of 30 days and received 6,300 replies, if you don't have a system to track those conversations and replies received so that you can actually understand who dropped off and who you need to follow up with, you are going to be lost. And there's no way you're going to do it if you don't have a system in place. If you have no system, this type of situation, which is a blessing when you go this viral and have that many leads inside of your Instagram DMs, can quickly turn into a nightmare if you don't have the right system in place. Now, before I get into the technical aspects of how to actually set up automated tracking, let's quickly cover a sequence that you can start implementing right away. And this is my follow-up framework. We want to have a minimum of 3 follow-ups. We want to do our first one 24 hours after they ghost us, the second one 3 days later, and the third one 5 to 6 days later. The reason we have these time frames and not some crazy things such as 6 hours and then we do 24 and then we do 2 days and then we do 3 days and we hit them every day is because Instagram is a very low commitment messaging platform. So if we hit them too often, we will scare away the leads. By branching it out like this, and I'm going to show you exactly what kind of messages you can send for each of these time frames, you actually give your lead time to breathe. Maybe they're busy, maybe something happened in their family life, so we don't want to hammer them too hard. After you've done these 3 follow-ups, and if somebody still does not reply back to them, we move into our long-term follow-up sequence, which almost nobody does on Instagram, because how are you going to know who you spoke to a year ago and be able to follow up with them? But what I'm about to show you has a solution for that as well. Now, before I show you how to track everything, let's cover what you can actually say in these different follow-up stages. The first follow-up should be very low pressure. What I like doing here is, for example, send a GIF. You could send a relevant meme or just an image, or even a short text like, hey, just checking in, and relate it back to the previous question that you asked that you got ghosted on. A lot of the times, this first ghost is going to be about an implied objection about what they said. So let's say you're asking someone if they would be able to commit 5 hours a week to a new fitness regimen to get to the goals that they want to. If they ghost that message, there is an implied objection. So you could come in and follow up with, I know 5 hours a week may seem like a lot, but in reality, if you just shift around your priorities a little bit, everybody has 5 hours in a week, and it should be pretty easy to do. Would you be open to me laying out a plan to see how you could free up those 5 hours? So by doing a follow-up like that, we can relate it back to a potential objection that they got from the question that we recently asked. And if this doesn't apply to the specific conversation, we can go with either a GIF, a meme, or an image, which is a very low effort way to do a funny follow-up, because we don't want to be hard asses and we don't want to come in 24 hours later and push them too hard with anything. We just want to be friendly and follow up. Now, a pro tip that I have for this and for any other follow-up stage is if 24 hours later they haven't seen your message yet, so they didn't actually open it up in the Instagram app and see the message, you can simply go ahead and like the most recent message that they sent. This is going to push your conversation back up in their inbox. They're no longer going to see what your recent message was. They're only going to see like the message, and they're going to have to click on the conversation to see what your last message was and which message you liked. So if they haven't opened this one, simply liking it is going to yield a great reply rate and get people back into the conversation if they simply forgot to read your message. Now, this is where we get to the second follow-up, because if they still ghost us after this, then there's something deeper there. So we want to re-engage with the conversation, but we don't want to be pushy with it. The second follow-up is where we provide value. This is the key for the second follow-up stage. We want to give them something relevant to their situation for free with no strings attached. This can be something like a screenshot or an article that you saw that may be helpful for them, a free resource that you just created, or a piece of content that you made that reminded you of their conversation. It could even be something like a technical recommendation for a tool or something to use inside of their business. And what we want to do here is we want to use the "I was thinking about you," ignore my handwriting, "I was thinking about you" approach. So we can come in and say, "Hey, I was just thinking about you when I saw this article and I wanted to share it with you." Boom, share the article, and that way we're just providing value, expecting nothing in return, and we're using the "I was just thinking about you" approach to actually re-engage them in the conversation with nothing expected in return. And you'd be surprised how many people come back in and appreciate that. They may not buy from you now, but the goodwill that you're going to be building will turn some of these people into clients long term. Now, for the third follow-up, you can get a bit more direct. This can be either a voice memo, where you'd simply voice note them and quickly check in and be a bit more direct about the actual conversation that you were having and where you were getting ghosted on. And here we really want to hammer home on the point of whether they're still interested in solving the problem. So for example, "Hey, Mike, just wanted to check in. Are you still interested in solving your weight loss problems with a proven plan? If not, that's totally fine. Just let me know." So we want to give them an easy out as well. So we want to hammer home on the question, see if they're still interested in solving that problem, which most people are still going to be interested in solving the problem. They just have something that they're not telling you, which is holding them back from it. But we also want to give them an easy out, because if they give us a no, we can say, "Hey, that's totally fine." And we move them into the long-term follow-up stage, because somebody who may not be ready right now may be ready in 30, 90, 180, or 365 days. And this is really where the magic comes in with these long-term follow-ups, where you can keep checking in with people with client wins. So you can say, "Hey, I just had this person who reminded me of you, and he went from this to this result inside of the program. Was just checking in. Are the goals that you had still relevant for you?" You can share new pieces of content you created, or even just share insights or random tips that you come up with. And you can do this in a templatized way. So you don't need to come up with a different follow-up for every single person. You can do your long-term follow-up sequence in a templatized way. But how do you actually keep track of all of this? Because this is completely overwhelming. If you have a lot of conversations, there is no way you're going to be able to keep track of all these follow-ups and do it in a structured way. And that is where the follow-up board that you see on screen right here comes in, which is part of the DM Tracker CRM. Now, this is completely free to start. There's a 14-day free trial, which you can get in the link down below in the description. And this essentially organizes every single contact that you have inside of your Instagram DMs into a neat little follow-up board so that you can see who ghosted you and which follow-up stage they're in. That way, when you have your different sequences for your different follow-ups and your different frameworks for how to do the follow-ups, you can simply apply these frameworks based on what stage your lead is in. Connecting this to your Instagram is incredibly easy. It works through ManyChat, and it's all covered inside of the onboarding. And once you've connected that, you can simply go in the bottom left-hand corner and click on Stages. This is going to be where you can configure your follow-up stages. So if we're going to be following this framework right here, we're going to do the first follow-up after 1 day. We're going to do the second follow-up 2 to 3 days later, so we can do 2 days in this case. We're going to do the third follow-up another 5 days after that, and then we move into our long-term nurturing sequence. So we could set this to 30 days, we could set it to 60 days after that. So by doing this, we can set up a long-term follow-up strategy. And this board is dynamically going to update and move people through the board. And as soon as a certain amount of time has passed, such as 180 days, they will show up in this board right here. Inside the board, you have the ability to either go directly to the Instagram profile, you can see the latest message of the lead, and you can also click on the profile, assign tags to the specific lead so that you can organize them by hot lead, lose weight, whatever their goal is. So you can add tags which are relevant to your business. You can also add notes, such as, for example, was high intent, but ghosted so that you can always refer back to these notes. And when you complete a follow-up, you can simply click on mark as done. And if they still ghost us 2 days after that, they will automatically appear in the next follow-up stage. When it comes to adding tags, you can simply go to your settings, add tags such as, for example, hot lead, called booked, old lead, whatever tags you use inside of your business, apply those to the specific contact. So you could come in here, add tag as a hot lead, and you could then filter in the top right hand corner and filter by only hot leads so that you can see all the hot leads that you need to do follow-ups with. Now, let's say you have a lead where you're like, okay, this person clearly will never buy from me. I don't want to follow up with them ever again. There is a solution for that too, because you can simply hit this little X right here and it's going to mark them as finish, which means that there's no further follow-up needed. You can always restore them if needed, but this will ensure that people do no longer show up in your follow-up board so that you can keep it clean and intentional with the leads you actually want to follow up with. Now, before I give you the last final tip that I want to share, which is going to change the way you think about follow-ups forever, there's actually the option to book in a free VIP strategy call with myself when you sign up to the free trial of DM Tracker, and I'll be able to sit down with you and tear apart your entire DM sales system on Instagram so that you can understand how you can get from where you're currently at to the number that you want to get to inside of your business with a proven system and strategy. And that call is completely free as part of the free trial with DM Tracker. So I would highly suggest that you book that in. And now for the final most valuable tip, most people think of follow-ups as something to get buyers. And the reality is some people will buy when you follow up with them, but there's also going to be people who just no matter what you do, they will never buy from you. But if you put them into a long-term value nurturing sequence, these people can turn into your biggest ambassadors and fans. They will refer people to you, so they'll bring you clients because they know that you have a lot of value to provide. It may not be the value that they need, and you may not be the person that can help them in their business, but they know that you know what you're doing, and they may know people who they can refer to you. It will also lead to them being your biggest ambassadors on your content. If you share enough value with them, they will continue watching your content, they will leave likes on your content, and comment on your videos, which is going to boost your engagement, bring you more reach, and start more conversations for your business. So even if a person may never buy from you, as long as they're related to your industry and you keep providing value, there is a return on that investment. And with that being said, if you want more Instagram strategies, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to link the breakdown of the full AI sales system that we use to optimize our Instagram DMs and close as many deals as possible from Instagram conversations in the description down below, where I break down the entire strategy and provide you with all the free resources that you need to get started. And if you want to have a chat with us to see if it makes sense to work together to have our help to implement all of this in your business, I'm going to put the link to schedule in a free call in the description down below.